Welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story: I should stay with the patient till last minute, just like they disciplined me a couple days earlier. The second story: boss called me to work when I was sick. There was an inspector at work. The third story: manager said to treat customers like best friends. I did it. On to the first story. I did exactly what my nurse manager asked me, and it caused her trouble. I used to work as a patient monitor at a hospital during the pandemic. My role was to take care of mostly psychiatric patients. For example, monitor them, talk to them, chart it, etc. We're told to always stay with one-to-one patients until someone relieves us and exchange reports before we leave. One day I got assigned to take care of a psychiatric patient in a specific wing of the hospital who happens to also have COVID-19. No surprise here, I'm trained on how to handle this. For some annoying and unintuitive reason, the hospital nursing office has this thing where if there's a patient monitor watching a COVID patient, then every 2 hours they must switch with another patient monitor who would watch a non-COVID patient. Wouldn't that expose more people? Whatever. So this meant that I would have to switch after my first 2 hours of my shift with another patient monitor who happens to be in the emergency room. I would also like to add that my first patient was very aggressive and worked up as he wanted to go home. I was a bit on the nervous side because he punched the wall and kept jumping out of frustration. After an hour and 45 minutes, I had to push the panic alarm, which calls security, since he was being so restless. Since it was almost time for me to leave, the nurse told me to step outside of the room and he'll stay with him as security talks to the patient. Eventually, we were able to fulfill the patient's request and start discharge papers. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but discharge paperwork takes a bit of time. Maybe an hour or two depending on how busy the staff are. But anyway, since it was 2 hours in for me, it was time to switch with the other patient monitor, as protocol like I mentioned earlier. When I went to the ER where the other patient was located, I warned the other patient monitor about the aggressive patient and that she should be very careful. Another 2 hours pass by, and I have to switch again with this patient monitor. But someone has to watch this ER patient till I go, and switch, so I kindly asked this patient's nurse to watch him until the other patient monitor comes back. This is where things go downhill fast. I had just gone to that wing of the hospital where I was taking care of the first patient, and I still see the aggressive patient being so restless and wants to go home. The paramedics came to take him on a stretcher, hospital bed that can be easily moved around, to take him to the ambulance and take him home. When I was walking to this patient's room, his nurse tells me that he's not a one-to-one anymore. Which makes sense, he's going home, but I still had the ER patient's report in my hand to give to the other patient monitor. So I stopped by and give it to her. At this point, the patient monitor was not responsible for this patient, and as of this point, neither was I. The other patient monitor was supposed to leave this patient and go back to her other patient in the ER. Because of that, I just went back to the nursing office to see if there was a new assignment. I do get a new assignment, and I'm with a new patient. 5 minutes in, the nursing office calls me and needs me downstairs immediately. When I get there, they asked me, "Didn't you say that the patient was leaving and got downgraded?" I say yes, and that the other patient monitor should be back to her original patient in the ER, but they tell me that she isn't. At this point, the nurse from the ER is asking, "Where's the other patient monitor?" The nursing office tried calling her and no answer. I was told to go back to the ER patient until the other patient monitor returns, and I comply. After 15 to 20 minutes with being with the patient in the ER, the other patient monitor returns, and I asked her what happened, and she told me that she was just staying with aggressive patient till he left. I told her that she was supposed to be here with her original patient, and that either way she passed her 2 hours with this COVID patient. But now the nursing office wanted me with the ER patient for the rest of the shift, and to see the nurse manager after my shift. I was so fed up at this point. The other patient monitor went back to the nursing office and went to a new patient. Fast forward till after my shift was over. The nurse manager wanted to speak to me and the other patient monitor because of that wild confusion and how we left the ER patient alone for 5 or 10 minutes. We both explain our sides of what happened, and that nurse manager thinks that it was my fault, that the ER patient was alone and that he could have harmed himself. I explain 1, I respectfully asked his ER nurse to be in charge of him until the other patient monitor arrives. 2, the aggressive patient was discharged, so no more one-to-one, so the other patient monitor needed to leave and proceeded to the ER patient. 3, I did everything that I was told. The nurse manager still applauded the other patient monitor for staying with a non-one-to-one patient till the last minute, and talked down on me for basically following protocol, telling me that you should have never left that ER patient. Okay, fine. Not even 1 week later, I was with a patient who was getting discharged, and I did exactly what the nurse manager told me to do. Stay with the patient till the last minute, even when they aren't one-to-one anymore. This time, the nursing office knew that this patient was leaving, that they were expecting me back at their office soon. But the discharge papers aren't done, and 3 paramedics were with the patient, waiting, and told me that it's okay to leave as well as the nurse. I told them that I needed to stay until the last second. The nurse manager runs into an issue where she needs me with another patient. She tried calling me. Where are you? The patient you have is getting discharged, and we need you here. I tell them, oh, but I should stay with the patient till last minute, just like they disciplined me a couple days earlier. They kept trying to tell me it's okay, and that they need me, but I said, no, it's okay, I insist. They tell me fine, and to come as soon as the patient leaves. Half an hour goes by and the patient still didn't leave, and the nurse manager calls me back. She really needs me, but I tell her I can't, and I also say, what if the patient harms themselves? The manager gets annoyed and hangs up. Later after that, I left the patient as she left. I went back to the nursing office, and the nursing manager can't make eye contact with me. Apparently, they had to pull someone from a different role to watch the patient, because I was busy. The next story is my friend working in a cake store. My friend texted me this story, so I literally just copy-pasted it. Here you go. So I was working at a cake store nearby that sells a very specific kind of cake. Anyway, so the owners were literally awful. Paid me $7.50 an hour instead of the $8.50 I was promised. Kept my passport for 3 weeks when I started for safety reasons, yelling, shouting, etc. Everything had to be perfect. Obviously, they never did any work themselves, just sat on Facebook all day. They also took any tips we got to pay for their lunch. They would order us to clock out, then make us keep working. They would literally schedule me for shifts that started during my school day. I was still in high school, then got mad that I couldn't be there on time. Okay, sucky boss is established. So one day I marked on the schedule that I wanted a certain day off. I marked this almost a month in advance. They asked me why. I said I had a doctor's appointment. They said, okay, you won't be scheduled that day. Now back then when I said I had a doctor's appointment, it was honestly just a tactful way for me to say, I'm gonna be in the hospital for a while. I was really sick back then. So the day comes and I go to the hospital like I had planned, when all of a sudden I get the call. It's from one of the sucky bosses, the wife. Let's call her Susan. Susan asks me where the hell I am. I say it's my day off. She says I'm written on the schedule. I had worked the day before, and I double-check the schedule every day. I wasn't on it, and I tell her as much. She says her husband Rob had written my name in that morning to work a shift because one of my coworkers was sick. She can't do my work because she's managing, sitting on Facebook. Obviously, I should have been able to telepathically see the schedule or something. I remind Susan I have the day off for an appointment. She says I should be done by now, and to get the hell to the store for work. I tell her I'm in the hospital, and I'm in no condition to work. Is she sure she wants me to come in? Susan tells me she's very sure. That is not an appropriate excuse. I want to see you right here at 2 p.m. sharp or you'll be fired. Fine. I go into work. It is glorious. I'm on so many pain meds I can't walk straight. My eyes are red. Soon I barely can stand up. I'm in tears as I'm ringing up customers. Susan is shrieking like a banshee at me because I keep making mistakes. I'm just standing there taking it, mostly because I'm completely out of it at this point. That's when it happens. We had all known an inspector was coming sometime that week, from the regional department or something. We figured he hadn't stopped by yet. He was in the store, undercover I guessed. He didn't say anything. He just walked out. I later got an email from him asking what had happened, so I told him. I told him Susan had threatened that I would be fired if I didn't come in. I found out later that week Susan was being fined a couple grand. I found this out because she sent me a bill for the fine, a nasty note attached to it. I'd resigned already by the time she did. I never answered. My friend was indeed able to improve their health. They're much better now. The last story is, District Manager wanted us to treat customers like our best friends. Okay. Retail time. Those were the days. I worked in the number 3 office supply chain in the country. Small flex, as there were only 3 office supply chains at the time. Well, I had one of those district managers that went to district manager school and did all the district manager things. You know, sending emails with random words in bold, different fonts, colors. His emails read like William Shatner having a stroke. The dude was a company man, read over-enthusiastic. Corporate had released a new policy about how we should set the standard for customer interaction. Don't just say hi or welcome to when a customer walks in, but treat them like you're happy they're there. Express interest in them on a unique level. If they're wearing a sports team hat and you know the team, say, "Hey, great game last night, right?" The general idea was to personalize the experience. Don't just sound like an NPC in a video game saying the same lines again and again to everyone. Well, Mr. District Manager Guy, living close to our store, popped in the day of the store meeting where this was all announced, and decided to encourage us and lead by example. That's actually pretty cool of a DM to do, but he also had a history of throwing tantrums, and we were like the bad news bears of the district, so it was more like treating us like little kids. It felt more condescending than anything. Mr. District Manager interpreted the new policy to be talk to the customer like they're your best friend. We role-played, and he would berate employee after employee to get it right. Role-playing in retail is always awkward, and this isn't a theater troupe. They aren't trained actors. The majority of the staff is first-time high school kids and part-time college kids. I was the latter. Our performances were not Hollywood. He wanted Hollywood. And me? I'm a sarcastic clown who loves having a little fun. The kind of guy that practices making ridiculous faces in the mirror, so I can try them out on unsuspecting friends later. I love an audience. Don't give me an excuse to be ridiculous. So the store opens at 8 a.m. Customers start coming in, and Mr. District Manager is still there, watching our performance and rating us, but not being as loudly snide in front of the customers. Finally, it's my turn, and he's once again repeating out loud, "Remember, you need to treat the customer like you would treat your best friend walking into your house." I recognized the customer who walked in, an old guy in his 60s we gave the nickname of Reno, and I know he heard every word Mr. District Manager said. Reno is one of our favorite customers. You're about to understand why. Reno walks right up to me. I say, "Hey dude, what's up?" Reno says, "You know man, same SH different day, right?" I say, "Tell me about it. My district manager has been a real pain in the A lately with some dumb new idea that's probably gonna blow up in his face." Reno laughs. "Sounds about right. Hey, I need to get some folders for a presentation for the condo association. Know where those are?" I say, "Back of the store. Find them yourself, dude, I'm not your servant." Reno says, "Fair enough. Think your manager buddy has figured out how stupid this is yet?" I say, "I don't know. He's not that bright." Reno laughs loud as he's prone to and takes a step to my district manager. Gives him a big slap on the arm, the kind that ends with his hand gripping the arm up high by the shoulder. Stares him in the eyes, gives his shoulder a small shake. I think he'll figure it out. He doesn't want to make the store's best customer angry, and Reno walks off. Mr. District Manager is beet red angry. If he were a cartoon, there would be steam. He breathes, and practically hisses through clenched teeth, asking just what the hell was I trying to pull. I do my best Joey from Friends. "What? You said treat him like my best friend, and Reno practically lives here." I got written up again that day. Hashtag worth it. So many times I should have been fired from that job. Also, this was like 2004, so obviously I didn't get the word-for-word banner perfectly memorized. But that's the kind of guy Reno was, and that's the kind of employee I was, and that's the setup we were given. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.